Turkey has had many earthquakes. This list includes any notable historical earthquakes that have epicenters within the current boundaries of Turkey, or which caused significant effects in this area. Overall, the population in major cities like Istanbul resides in structures that are a mix of vulnerable and earthquake-resistant construction. Tectonic setting. Turkey is a seismically active area within the complex zone of collision between the Eurasian plate and both the African and Arabian plates. Much of the country lies on the Anatolian plate, a small plate bounded by two major strike-slip fault zones, the North Anatolian Fault and East Anatolian Fault. The western part of the country is also affected by the zone of extensional tectonics in the Aegean Sea, caused by the southward migration of the Hellenic Arc. The easternmost part of Turkey lies on the western end of the Zagros Fold and Thrust Belt, which is dominated by thrust tectonics. Seismic hazard. Seismic hazard in Turkey is highest along the plate boundaries, but there is a significant risk of damaging earthquakes almost anywhere in the country. Seismic maps that show risk have changed through time. Buildings. In earthquake-prone areas, all buildings built to 20th century standards may be dangerous, but shortly after the 1999 Izmit earthquake, which killed over 17,000 people, a new seismic code was brought into force to protect against earthquakes in Turkey. Also following that earthquake, a so-called earthquake tax was raised during the government of Bülent Ecevit. Initially thought as a temporary tax, it became permanent. The aim of the tax is to prepare for earthquake-related damage. Need quotation to verify. In 2007, the seismic code was strengthened. However, it is alleged that builders often ignored the rules due to corruption. After the 2011 Van earthquakes, Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan said, "Municipalities, constructors and supervisors should now see that their negligence amounts to murder." In 2018, a zoning law gave amnesties to some unlicensed buildings and some with unlicensed floors. Further resilience over the 2007 code was mandated in the 2018 Turkish Seismic Code, which took effect on January 1, 2019. Improvements included design supervision and site-specific hazard definitions, and for new buildings in vulnerable regions required rebar in high-quality concrete. Beams and columns in those buildings must be in the right place to properly absorb shaking. The code is said by foreign experts to be very modern and similar to U.S. codes. However, these 21st-century building codes were not very well enforced. In a bid to shore up support going into the 2018 Turkish presidential election, the government offered amnesties for violations of the building code, allowing non-compliance to continue with the payment of a fee. This poor enforcement of seismic codes was a contributing factor to the devastation of the 2023 Turkey, Syria earthquakes, in which over 42,000 people died in Turkey. There were high incidences of support column failure leading to pancake collapses, which complicated rescue efforts. Experts lamented the practice would turn cities into graveyards. The 2023 Turkey, Syria earthquake collapsed many older buildings and some recent ones. The Environment and Urbanization Ministry is assessing the damage. Unreinforced masonry buildings are vulnerable. Many older buildings in Istanbul are vulnerable to pancake collapses. Retrofitting old buildings is possible, but expensive. Although over 3 million housing units nationwide were strengthened in the 2 decades before 2023, as of that year many apartment blocks do not meet 21st century standards. Building with wood has been suggested.